All right, press one if you can see in here. Press one if you can see in here. All right, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get it started. All right, we're the ISUPK, started out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Since 1969, we've been teaching the truth. The blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians are the Israelites. All right, they have been lied to, tricked, hoodwinked in these false religions, in these different holidays. All right, into thinking that these holidays have anything to do with them. All right. Type in your questions. Type in your questions now. Okay? Press one if you can see in here. Press one if you can see in here. All right, so we're going to go into, without further ado, New Year's 2020. Is it fact or is it fiction? Does the new year start on January 1st, or are we being lied to in America? Are we being lied to in Canada? In these different lands where blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians are. In this class, we're going to show you without shadow of a doubt that New Year's is not January 1st. The January 1st New Year's comes from, like many things in Canada, ancient Roman customs. Again, the slave master, he's not ashamed of going to his gods for strength. He's not ashamed of worshiping and celebrating his gods. The God of Christmas is the God of the Germans, black man, Latino, Native American Indian. Santa Claus is patterned after Odin. Okay, the real Saint Nicholas was a black man in Turkey in the 4th century AD. He was an Israelite, all right? And he had nothing to do with flying through the night sky in an 8-legged reindeer and sneaking into your chimney to eat your milk and cookies, all right? That's got nothing to do with him, but that has everything to do with Odin. And the New Year's is no different. The New Year's is the worship of the god Janus. January is named after the god Janus. Again, they don't have a problem going to their gods for help, for strength. But the Negro, the Latino, the Native American Indian, he's ashamed. Oh, don't go up here. Don't go up to Canada talking about the Bible, the First Nations. Don't come up here to Canada with that, scared, pissing, urinating themselves. All right? Don't come to Canada with that, so-called First Nations tell us. All right? That's nonsense. We are coming to Canada with it. And the Lord said there's a day coming when we wouldn't be ashamed to call on our God, the Most High Power. Our God's the living God. He's the one true living God. Santa Claus is not real, okay? Many of you found that out later on in life after your parents had lied to you. Santa Claus is not real. The Easter egg, Easter bunny is not real. Christmas, New Year's is not on January 1st. All right? If you have any questions, type them in. Questions, type them in. I'm going to answer them. All right? Time permitting. Time permitting. Type in your questions now. Type in your questions now. All right? So we're going to go ahead and get started. New Year's has nothing to do with January. The New Year's is not January 1st. All right, we're going to go ahead and we're just going to show you what New Year's Day is about. Because black people in Canada, you have no idea what you're worshiping. You have no idea what you're serving. Oh, come on, kids. Let's all dress up for Christmas. You have no idea what Christmas is about. You didn't know that Santa Claus is patterned after a high German god, Odin, the same god that the Nazis celebrate. You didn't know that the cat that Santa Claus wore is called the Phrygian cat. It's an ancient cat of Greek and Roman gods, Greek and Roman mythology. We don't know that. We don't know is that it's killing us in Montreal. Christmas is killing you. And Christmas is the reason when your family separated. And the worship of these gods, New Year celebration, is the reason why your relationships fail. I'm going to show you this in the Bible. All right? We're in a deep state of mental retardation because we celebrate and follow the gods of the heathen, of the slave master. Napoleon Bonaparte, he would celebrate New Year's on January 1st. Haitian, West Indian, the British Empire, they celebrated New Year's on January 1st, West Indian. Kayla ISUBK, give me 1 second. All right, 1 second. All right. All right, so I'm going to answer your questions. Type in all questions on YouTube or Facebook so I can answer them in person, all right, in the flesh, or in the spirit, rather. But in any event, I'll be able to answer your questions better than doing it through text, all right? So one of the sisters had asked the question, why are there gay people? Why are homosexuals around? Why are there homosexuals around? We're going to show you why there are homosexuals around. Hold everything. Let's get Romans, the book of Romans, chapter 1 and verse 26. All right? Romans chapter 1, verse 26. For why homosexuals are running around right now on the earth. Get matter of fact, Romans chapter 1, verse 25. Bear with me 1 second. Matter of fact, Romans chapter 1, verse 22. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. So to answer the sister's question, there are homosexuals running around because they think that they're smarter than God. All right? Man throughout the ages has always had a problem with pride. Always had a problem with being prideful, with thinking that they could come against God, come against the Most High, and supersede Him, both in the way they live and physically. They tried to build a tower up to go and fight the Most High. That's why every church has a church steeple, has a point at the top, because they're trying to pierce up into heaven. All right? Man has always thought they're smarter than the Most High. What's one of the ways you see that today? Oh, homosexuality is normal. The LGBTQ community, they're normal. They're totally fine. You know, they should be accepted into society. The acceptance of homosexuality and the belief that homosexuality is normal is the reason why homosexuals are running around. Homosexuals are running around today because it is not taboo. When at one time in America, at one time in Canada, it was illegal to be homosexual, at least in the United States. But now, because it's been accepted, now they come out of the closet, right? To the sister that asked this question, they're able to come out of the closet because it's been said that it's okay to come out of the closet. Because man thinks it's wiser than the Most High. They think they're wise. And in their wisdom, they become fools. All right, let's read on. Romans 1 and 24. Wherefore God also gave them up to their uncleanness through the lust of their own hearts. So God, because these idiots think they're so smart, He gave them up to their uncleanness, up to their filthiness. God gives a man up to his homosexuality because He thinks he's wise, because He thinks that lifestyle is wise. That lifestyle is foolish. It's foolish for a man to let another man go up his behind. It is foolish for two men to get together and have a romantic relationship when male and female are able to reproduce. Okay? Man and man don't reproduce. It is foolish, it is counterproductive for two men to be together, sword fighting in a homosexual relationship. No, nothing's produced from this. Okay? Except for torn up rectums and bloodborne diseases. Let's read on. To dishonor their own bodies between themselves, who change the truth of God into a lie, and worship and serve the creature more than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen. Verse 26, for this cause God gave them up unto vile affections. For this cause, the sister's question was, why are the homosexuals running around? Homosexuals are running around because of the Christian church. Because the truth of God, it was changed into a lie. God said in Leviticus chapter 20 and verse 13 that a man that lieth with mankind committeth an abomination. They shall surely be put to death. Right? That's an abomination. What does Canada say? It's an alternative lifestyle. As if, you could have a cheeseburger, or you could have a salad, or you could have, chicken. You could have regular sex, or you could be a homosexual. That's what they're saying. Like it's a two-way street. According to God, it's a one-way street, okay? And that street is straight, not crooked, all right? Canada. But because man says, no, God loves you no matter what, because he changed the truth of God into a lie, homosexuals are running around. For this cause, God gave them up into vile affections. To the sister's question, I hope this answered your question in as succinct a way as possible. Homosexuals are running around because the Christian church, headed by the Roman Catholic Church, said it was okay.
Right.
They started out with God knows your heart, and their nations, their countries now say homosexuality is an alternative lifestyle. The root of it is the Roman Catholic Church. You can thank the Indian Reform Schools. All right, you can thank the slave master and his culture. See, before the slave master came to Canada, you didn't have Native Americans running around being homosexuals. There was a report that came out a few weeks ago from the CBC from Canada where they were saying that indigenous people who had HIV weren't given proper treatment up there in Canada, which is typical. We see that in the syphilis experiment with the Negro, with the syphilis experiment in Guatemala amongst the tribe of Zebulun, where they know we're ill and they don't give us proper treatment. But here's the thing, First Nations, you shouldn't have even had HIV. You know how you stop the flow of HIV? Stop being a whore, that's number one, and stop being a homosexual.
That's right.
All right? HIV spread through the First Nations from the slave master. There was no HIV when Crazy Horse, Geronimo, and them were able to roam the Great Plains. Okay? But when the slave master came, when the Indian Reform School came, that homosexuality leaked into the First Nations. You know where homosexuality comes from? Also to your question, they did a study in the United States. 80 to 85% of homosexuals had been molested or been abused as a child, mostly sexually. So where is this? I was born gay. That's what they say, right? You can look up scientific studies as well where they ruled out the gay gene. There is no gay gene. No one is born homosexual. You know how I know? Because it takes man and woman to reproduce. Everything that's living naturally wants to reproduce. Homosexuals are no different. So how do homosexuals reproduce? To the sister that asked this question, they must child molest. They must touch little boys and little girls and put their hands on them and hurt them at a young age. And from that scarring, if they don't have the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge,
right,
they'll be told you were born that way. You were always like that. And any victim, no victim wants to be a victim. No one wants to be a victim. So they'll say, yeah, I was born that way. I wanted to be touched like that because I was born wanting to sword fight. I was born wanting to rub carpets and to lick and kiss on women and to bring silicone rods and pretend to be young M.A., pretend to have a rod. Did I get my wallet? Hold on, Sacagawea, wait. I got my wallet, got my knife, got my rod, ready to go. That's not, people aren't born that way. Okay? People are not born that way. That is because of the Christian church and child molestation. All you can thank Canada for all of them. Okay? Because before Canada, you didn't have that issue amongst the First Nations. And now you got homosexuals running around Calgary, Winnipeg, Vancouver, and child molestation. So that's the answer to the question. All right. T.O. Shalom Yahweh Shemar Alpha Bashim Yahushai. Okay. T.O. asks, are there scriptures on conducting proper hygiene? Yeah. Most, and here's another thing. Comment, like, share, subscribe, type in your questions, etc. Most laws in the Bible are actually, they're medical. They did research on it. Most of the laws in the Old Testament are medical. It's not just, la di de mo de ne. That's what the Roman Catholic Church is. They're this. They're just, seances and paganism. The Bible is all about practicality. We're the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. The Bible is practical, right? So the laws on hygiene, you can read about that in Leviticus 13. Remember, if a man had leprosy, he was shut up. You know what it's called when you get shut up today? Quarantine. And you can go ask medical researchers, right? Go look up in government-funded studies, and they'll tell you the first cases of quarantine is not in the Hindu text. They love that Hindu text, Barzal. The Hindu text, the most ancient religious text, they say that it was the origin of washing and all of that. When the Old Testament is older than the Hindu text. It's older than, the Quran, much older than the Quran. Hell, the New Testament is older than the Quran. The Bible was finished before that illiterate camel jockey came along, Muhammad.
Right.
All right? Washing is in the Bible. Leviticus, the 13th chapter, if a man had spots or he had some kind of, disgusting skin disease, he was shut up for 7 days. That's quarantine. In some cases, his clothes had to be burned. In some cases, his clothes just had to be washed. What happens when you go to a hospital? When you go for a checkup, if you're sick, they put you in the sick room. That's from the Bible. Okay? The first cases of hygiene and hygienic separations in the Bible, in the scriptures. That's Leviticus 13 on to Leviticus 14. Leviticus 15 talks about hygiene or washing. All right? So we can read a few scriptures about it. Leviticus, the 15th chapter, talks about personal hygiene. All right? Leviticus 15 and 16. And if any man's seed of copulation go out from him, then he shall wash all his flesh in water and be unclean until the even. Verse 17, and every garment and every skin whereon is the seed of copulation shall be washed with water and be unclean until the even. Verse 18, the woman also with whom man shall lie with seed of copulation, they shall both bathe themselves in water and be unclean until even. So if you have sex, and the man, through sex, the man ejaculates, wherever that seed is on, that garment or that piece of bedding is unclean. Take that bedding, you go ahead and slap it in the washer. Wash it and dry it today. Back in ancient times, you had to wash it and dry it. All right, that's why the clothes were unclean until the even. They had to be let out to dry. All right, you didn't have General Electric and Maytag back in the day. All right, you had a bucket and you had some running water. You had a stream. So after you do your business, with your woman, seed, your woman, wherever it is, has to be washed. That's hygienic.
Right.
You get my point? You read on down after that, it talks about what a woman has to do when she is unclean. When a woman starts bleeding, when she has her monthly, she's unclean for 7 days from the start of that monthly. All right? Wherever that blood touches anything, that thing is unclean as well. You can read about that as well. I believe it's unclean for the same amount of time. It has to be washed and you have to keep separate from it. But again, because of changes in technology, women now have something called tampons, which stop most of that bleeding. But yet and still, a woman is unclean when she is bleeding. All that means is same thing. It means the same thing as when man and woman have sex. A man ejaculates or a woman is unclean through her monthly. She can't come to class, he or she. You get my point? Until the sun sets. So if class starts before the sun sets, you got to wait until the sun sets before you can come into an ISUPK class, into a high holy day, etc. But other than that, you just conduct yourselves normally. That's hygiene. It's all. What does that mean? Wash your behind, which the other nations do not do. You ever wonder why Africans smell the way they do? Because they have sex, get up, and go drive the taxi. Go work the taxi. You can go and look that up. All right. In many countries, African countries, where they perform female genital mutilation, they say the men like the women to have dry vaginas. So the women will rub toothpaste, bark, and dry leaves in their private area to make the sex nice and dry and rough. You can go look that up. Okay. So they're not into washing. The other nations are not into washing. The slave master was getting all those diseases in Europe because he didn't know how to wash. In Germany, they used to take baths with gasoline. You can go look that up. Okay, you want to take a bath in Heikenslauer, all right, you were doused with 87 grade ethanol, 87th grade, 10% ethanol dousing. All right. Washing originates from the Hebrew Israelites. It was revolutionary at the time. All right. So those are scriptures on conducting proper hygiene. Questions, type the questions in. I'm going to go ahead and check the chat real quick. I should be seeing more. For some reason, I don't see some of these comments on the Restream chat, so I'm going to check the Facebook itself. Questions, type your questions in. Type your questions in. All right. Bear with me 1 second. Yes, I see Adiar commented, but I can't see his comment anywhere else except for the damn Facebook. All right, so I'll just keep the Facebook tab open. For some reason, Restream doesn't grab Facebook's comments. In any event, type in your questions now. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and get started. Barzal, I'm going to need you, if you could, just read some of the scriptures for me, so, so I can take a break. Get a sword, or do you need one? I appreciate it. All right. New Year's Day, 2020. Fact or fiction? Let's find out. Questions. Type your questions in. I'm going to share this screen for you. Again, I like to make things interactive, so let me know if you can see. All right. Boom. Okay. All right. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get into it. All right, New Year's Day. All we did here, those of you that are watching, viewers, all we did here was we searched New Year's Day in Wikipedia. Harmless, right? Let's see what Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia, has to say about New Year's Day. New Year's Day, also simply called New Year's or New Year's, is observed January 1st, the first day of the year on the modern Gregorian calendar, as well as the Julian calendar. The first thing you have to understand, Negro, Latino, Native American Indian, is that this is only celebrated on 2 calendars. There are hundreds of different calendars on the earth. Hundreds of different calendars. Okay? The Gregorian calendar is a calendar that was made up by Pope Gregory in the 1500s. Pope Gregory was a slave master in Italian. And he changed it up from the Julian calendar, which is patented after a man named Julius Caesar, another slave master. Your days and time is set up by the slave master. Nothing you have is your own, First Nations. You don't have your own calendar. You don't have your own days. Time. Your concept of time is from the slave master, from General Custer, from the cavalry, from the RCMP, from Canada, West Indian. We're black, right? Africa, right? Africa. The calendar, the days of your week come from the slave master. The Gregorian calendar was set up by the slave master. According to the slave master, January 1st is a new year. Gregorian calendar, Julian calendar. Let's continue reading. In pre-Christian Rome under the Julian calendar, bear with me 1 second. In pre-Christian Rome under the Julian calendar, this day was dedicated to Janus. Make sure you can see that. The day was dedicated to Janus. What happened in post-Christian Rome? They, like they did with Christmas, gave it a new name. They cleaned it up, right? You ever heard of dirty money? They made the dirty money clean. They recycled it, all right? So originally, January 1st was in worship of the god Janus. But again, because, as we said before to the sister that asked the question, the truth of God was changed into a lie, right? They had to meld the truth, the Bible, with the lie, paganism, in order to get new members, because the Roman Catholic Church is greedy for new members and new children to abuse. All right? And one of those gods they had to bring in, his name was Janus, an ancient Roman god. God of gateways and beginnings, for whom January is also named. Right? As a date in the Gregorian calendar of Christendom, so now Christendom comes in, they try to clean it up, clean up their act. New Year's Day liturgically marked the feast of the naming and circumcision of Jesus, which is still observed as such in the Anglican Church and Lutheran Church. Okay, there is no scripture that says Christ was born on the date January 1st. Christ was not even born around this time of year. So that's another lie.
Right.
Again, we got to go back into the scripture and show you Christ was born during the springtime. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get this one. Get Luke the 2nd chapter. You could grab it. Luke the 2nd chapter. I have Barzal Rakab with me, Officer Barzal Rakab. He's going to read the scriptures eloquently and show you what it is. Okay. Precept on child support. Shalom Trooper Bakwasha. Yeah, I'm gonna get that for you right after this. Go ahead. Let's see when Christ was born. Was he born on December 25th? Would he have been born in enough time to be circumcised on the 8th day, being January 1st? Let's find out. Go ahead.
It's the book of Luke, chapter 2. And it came to pass in those days that there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be taxed.
All the world should be taxed. When is tax season in Canada? Is it January 1st, the dead of winter? Got to run a TurboTax. When it's so cold your car won't even start? Or is it done during the spring? Read on.
And this taxing was first made when Cyrenius was governor of Syria. And all went to be taxed.
Okay, skip down to verse 4. So they all went to be taxed. So to be taxed, you had to travel. Remember, the Roman Empire ruled a vast swath of land. So do you think they had their subjects traveling in the den of winter? No. You would have had to have made that travel or made that decree during a time when the weather was favorable for walking. When is the weather favorable for walking? During the springtime. Go ahead.
Right. Verse 4. And Joseph also went up from Galilee out of the city of Nazareth into Judea unto the city of David, which is called Bethlehem, because he was one of the house and lineage of David.
He was the house and lineage of David, just like his son Christ. Christ had a physical father. His physical father's name was Joseph. Remember, this is during the Roman tax season. All right, let's find out what happened during this time. Read on.
Verse 5. To be taxed with Mary, his espoused wife, being great with child.
Being what?
Being great with child.
She's very pregnant with the one the world calls Christ. She's about to pop. Okay, great with child. Deep in her pregnancy. 3rd trimester. Read on.
Verse 6. And so it was that while they were there, the days accomplished that she should be delivered.
While they were there, the days were accomplished. Not December 25th, not next winter, right? Not January 1st. While they were there, the days were accomplished that she should be delivered. What days? Roman tax season. When is Roman tax season? When you do your taxes in Canada. The springtime. Christ was born during the springtime. January 1st is not at all the day of his circumcision. That is a flat out lie from the stinking Catholic Church. All right, in an effort to get new and more members. All right, let's look up this Janus character next, real quick. Matter of fact, a precept on child support was it Leviticus 26 and 26. All right, Bakwasha, we get your scripture, the precept for child support. All right.
It's the book of Leviticus, chapter 26, and verse 26. And when I have broken the staff of your bread, 10 women shall bake your bread in one oven.
When I have broken the staff of your bread. What is bread to a black man, to a Latino, Native American Indian? Stuff you used to eat. What do you need to eat? You need money to eat, right? You need currency to eat. They would take, these women, these 10 women, they would take the staff of your bread, staff of your strength, right? Source of your bread. The source of your income. Income. Check. Slap, slap. They would take your bread, your check. These 10 women, read on.
Come. And they shall deliver you your bread again by weight.
Read it from the top.
Come. And when I have broken the staff of your bread.
I've broken the staff of your bread, but I've broken the source of your income, the source of your strength. Go ahead.
Come. 10 women.
10 women. I broke it. 10 women. Go ahead.
Shall bake your bread in one oven.
10 women are going to bake your bread in one oven. Right? They're going to take your income and they're going to do what with it? Use it to eat. You're going to put it to use. If you put bread in the oven, before you put bread in an oven, you can't do anything with it. You can't eat money, which is how you know this is talking about money. You can't eat money, right? Just like you can't eat bread dough, right? You sit and eat bread dough, you get sick. Money offers no nutritional value. But these women, they'll take it and they'll put that bad boy into an oven. They'll make it edible. They'll use your bread to eat. They'll use your bread, take it, and they'll use it to live. They'll use it to get new nails.
Right.
And new cigarette boxes.
Right.
Right? And whatever else sisters are using the money for. Blunt wraps, weed, pills. That trip to Vegas, all those Instagram women you see in Vegas and Miami. Oh, I got to get it here. Show the crease of the butt cheek right here. That is child support money. She's not a goddamn engineer. How is she in Miami one week and back in North Carolina the next? In many cases, not all, but in an overwhelming majority of cases, that money is gathered through child support. You know, based on the kind of woman she is, the manner of woman, the type of picture she takes, how she carries herself. They would take your bread, your income, and they would put it to use. Read on.
Come. And they shall deliver you your bread again by weight.
They're going to deliver it to you by weight. She's delivering it to you. Why? Because she is the one that puts you on child support. She doesn't have to put you on child support. You know that, right? She doesn't have to do it. That's why this verse is saying she'll deliver it to you by weight. You might see state of Pennsylvania, state of Virginia, child support with withholding or however they do it. You might see that, but she withheld that because she's baking it. She gives you back your check. Here you go, with money sucked out of it. For her ungrateful, in many cases, whorish behind. Sucked out. She'll give it back to you. Here you go. Go ahead.
Come. And ye shall eat and not be satisfied.
You'll eat, you won't be satisfied.
Right.
You won't have the funds, the bread that you would otherwise have. You wouldn't be reaping the way you should be reaping. You won't be satisfied. Here you are working 16, some brothers work 16-hour shifts, 5 and 6 days a week, working all night, graveyard shifts. You would think with that kind of work ethic, you would have a nice savings amassed. We have nothing. Many black, Hispanic, and Native Indian men work like dogs in this kingdom and have nothing. Why? Because they made a bad choice in women. Because they were cursed for not keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. For doing something that they ought not have done. All right? But never fear. The Most High got us into this mess, put us into it for what we've done. He can get us out of it if we continue to follow. You understand? So child support is, it happens. It might be stressful, but the Lord always makes a way out. That's in the New Testament. All right? You're not tempted above yet that which you can handle.
Right.
You can handle it. If you're in the truth and you're going through it, you can handle it. But if you're the brothers that aren't, it's horrible. I pray for those brothers that don't have the truth. All right? Because life is terrible without it. So hopefully that answers your question. All right, type in your questions. Type in your questions. All right. I'm checking the Facebook. All right. So let's get this guy Janus. Let's see this Janus guy. Let's see what he's about. All right. So this is Janus. Bear with me 1 second. All right. In ancient Roman religion and myth, Janus is the god of beginnings, gates, transitions, time, duality, doorways, passages, and endings. Doorways and new beginnings. What is on the door of many businesses right now? What is on the door after Christmas and during Christmas time? The laurel wreath. You've seen that? Circular, right? Circular wreath on the door. I'm going to show you. All right. The Christmas laurel wreath. Christmas laurel wreath. Here it is right here. Tab. Second. Boom. The laurel wreath. There she is, right there. This is the laurel wreath. This symbol is from Janus. It's a symbol of the Greek god, the Roman god, Janus. It's put over doors and it's circular because Janus is a god of doorways and what else? Beginnings. Why is it circular? Because of the cycle of life, right? Life, according to the heathen, would go in a circle. Everything goes in a circle. They get that, of course, from the Bible. Okay, biblically, everything regenerates itself. The air regenerates. I mean, the air you feel came from another side of the world. The rain you feel has been here millions upon millions of times. All right? You have been here before. All right? But they use it in worship of their god Janus, circular shape. Wreath on the door. When you pass through that wreath or through that doorway, you're supposed to be passing into a new beginning. This is the laurel wreath. This is where it comes from. Again, it has nothing to do with the Most High or the one the world calls Christ. All right? Let's go back to this Janus character. Since he looks, let's see if I can minimize it a little bit more. Can you see that? Give me 1 second. Janus presided, matter of fact, 1 second. It is conveniently thought that the month of January is named for Janus. All right? January. They lie and say that Juno was the deity of the month when Juno is the deity of June. All right? Janus is the god of January. January 1st is the worship of the month January, which is the worship of the god Janus. Give me Exodus 20:3 real quick. All right? Exodus 20:3.
This is the book of Exodus, chapter 20 and verse 3. Thou shalt have no other gods before me.
Hear that? Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Janus is another god, and if you watch and worship, if you watch the ball drop on January 1st, you worship Janus.
Right.
You go to a New Year's celebration, New Year's party, you worship the god Janus. The New Year's is January 1st is the new year to the slave master. Remember, these are Greek and Roman gods. The Greeks and the Romans are the people that captured you, that conquered you. Natives, First Nations, West Indians, Negroes, Latinos. Thou shalt have no other gods before me, no other gods before the Most High. All right? Drop that. Give me Proverbs 3:31. Proverbs 3:31.
It's the book of Proverbs, chapter 3 and verse 31.
Go ahead.
Envy thou not the oppressor.
Envy not what?
Thou not the oppressor.
Envy the oppressor, First Nations. Just because they celebrate January 1st as the new year doesn't mean you have to. Because it's a lie. It's worship. It's the worship of the god Janus. Read on.
And choose none of his ways.
Don't choose Christmas. Don't choose New Year. Don't choose Valentine's Day. Don't choose Boxing Day. Don't choose Easter. None of that. Choose none of his ways. Read on.
Verse 32. For the froward is an abomination to the Most High.
The froward is an abomination to the Most High. So with a disgusting mind. And First Nations that celebrate Janus as the New Year are disgusting. Have a disgusting mind to the Most High. All right. Give me drop that. Give me Ecclesiasticus chapter 33 and verse 17. Bear with me 1 second.
So actually, 33 and 17.
Hold on 1 second. I love to pull this precept for Esau's so-called holidays. All right, it's a good precept. Ecclesiasticus 33 and I'm trying to find the precept. Again, if you have questions, type your questions in. Any questions, type your questions in, all right? Ecclesiasticus 33 and 7. Go ahead.
The book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 33 and verse 7. Why doth one day excel another, when as all the light of every day in the year is of the sun? Verse 8.
Why does one day excel another? When every day is a day, because why? The sun. The sun rises, the sun sets. When the sun sets, a new day starts. Right? So what makes one day better than another? Is it Canada? Canada. Oh, January 1st, make sure you celebrate New Year's. First Nations that we conquered. Go ahead and celebrate it. Go ahead and celebrate it, West Indians. They can't give you reparations for slavery, but they can tell you to go watch a ball drop.
All right.
You can't get your money, but you would come and watch this ball drop and have a little drugs while you're at it. Pop a little pills. We won't come and get you. Montreal police. Toronto police, right? Read on.
Verse 8. By the knowledge of the Lord.
What establishes the days?
By the knowledge of the Lord.
What makes one day better than another?
By the knowledge of the Lord.
First Nations, the days are established by the knowledge of the Lord, the one you call God, the supreme being. Okay? He establishes the days. The Great Spirit, the one you call the Great Spirit, he establishes the days. He makes one excel another. The knowledge of the Most High did not excel January 1st above the other days. Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, clearly states, clearly entails what holidays or holy days we should celebrate, what feast days we should have in honor. January 1st is not a day we should have in honor. All right? Not a day we should have in honor. It has nothing to do with the First Nations, Latinos, and the Native American Indians, who are the First Nations, or so-called Negroes, etc. All right? So he didn't establish that day. Read on.
Come on. By the knowledge of the Lord, they were distinguished.
By the knowledge of the Lord were they distinguished. Go ahead.
Come on. And he altered seasons and feasts.
He altered seasons and feasts. He altered seasons and feasts. Not Canada, right? Not the Roman Catholic Church. Not the Indian Reform schools, which is where the First Nations got January 1st as a new year from. He hallowed seasons and feasts. And he didn't hallow January 1st. January 1st is not even on God's calendar any damn way. The Most High bases his high holy days on the moon. Okay? The moon tells you when the months start and end. The moon, when it's the new moon, meaning on the day of the astronomical dark moon, right, which is the new moon according to the Bible, on that day, that's when the new month starts. The word month in Hebrew, Kadash, also means moon, right? So the moon tell you when the month starts. New moon, then you count the days, right? From sunset, 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 right? And those days tell you the feast days, except for the Sabbath. The Sabbath is every 7 days, so-called Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. All right. So the Lord didn't establish January 1st. It's not a day he established. But Janus, the Greek god Janus, he did establish it. January 1st, being New Year's, is a white supremacist concept. It's from our slave masters. And First Nations that celebrate it, they love and vaunt white supremacy. The same people that are being stopped and frisked or carded in Canada, the same people that are being racially profiled in stores in Winnipeg, will go and celebrate Christmas with a Christmas tree when the people that kicked you out of that store, that say you're a thief, you don't belong in here, you're indigenous, I think you're stealing, they're going to go celebrate Christmas. So why would we go celebrate the same holiday as the people that racially profile us? It is insane. Okay? The Negro, Latino, First Nations are under a state of mental retardation in Canada. Okay? And this isn't something the learning support can get you out of. This is something that the one you call God can get you out of, the Most High. All right? The people that racially profile us, that don't care when our daughters go missing, they're going to watch the ball drop. They're going to go watch the ball drop. Why would we go and watch it? Seeing they're going to get back to work the next day. You'll have off on Wednesday, right? January 1st. They'll get back to work next day, making sure you're oppressed. Making sure there's lawlessness and anarchy all throughout the First Nation streets. All throughout the bands and the reserves. It's ridiculous. It's a god of the French, Janus. Now, let's keep going. So, hold that. All right, so we show you that it's the worship of the god Janus, etc. Let's show you New Year's resolution, right? Don't people go and say, I'm going to lose 15 pounds on New Year's, right? New Year's, God, please take away my addiction to drugs on New Year's, after New Year's. Thank you. Amen. Your New Year's resolution fails.
Right.
You know why it fails? Because you're making it to Satan and not to the Most High. You're making it to Janus.
Right.
The Lord never asked you to pray to him or to make a New Year's resolution on December 31st at 11:59 p.m. You get my point? That's not what the Lord established. Let's find out the origins of the New Year's resolution. All right? All right. New Year's resolution, again, Wikipedia, simple Wikipedia search, a simple Google search. New Year's resolutions are a tradition most common in the Western Hemisphere, but also found in the Eastern Hemisphere, in which a person resolves to change an undesired trait or behavior to accomplish a personal goal or otherwise improve their life. All right? Let's see the religious origins. This is a religious practice. All right? Babylonians made promises to their gods on the start of each year that they would return borrowed objects and pay their debts. The Romans began each year by making promises to the god Janus. When would the Romans make it? January 1st. Who are the Romans? Europeans, First Nations. You're making a New Year's resolution on a day that's not even for you. That's why you're not going to lose 15 pounds. You're not going to get off the booze. You're not going to stop getting high, being an alcoholic. You're not going to stop beating your wife half to death because you're making a vow on the slave master's day when Master told you you can make it. When the cavalry gave you a rest from the Gatling gun, all right, and the galleys where they would hang you, First Nations. That's got nothing to do with you. That's a damn demonic holiday, okay? And no vow gets made without perseverance or without the Most High being involved in it. All right? Get me when you shall vow a vow. Hold on one second. Give me Ecclesiastes 5 and 4, man. Give me Ecclesiastes 5 and 4 on these on vows. Go ahead.
It's a book in Ecclesiastes, chapter 5 and verse 4.
Go ahead.
When thou vowest a vow unto God, defer not to pay it.
When thou vows a vow to God, don't defer to pay it. The first thing you need to understand is when you say you're going to do something, which is what a vow is, do it. Do it. Don't, I'm going to lose 15 pounds. I'm going to buy Jenny Craig, okay? And good. January 2nd, you doing the same damn thing that you did before. I'm going to be meth-free. January 2nd, you down in Arizona looking for the cast of Breaking Bad. You down in Arizona looking for the lab, not the lab, the laboratory. Okay, January 2nd, because the vows you making, you're not paying it. When you say you're going to do something, do it. When you make a vow, when you say you're going to do something, you're going to change. Do it. This is why your life doesn't get any better. Because of these silly holidays. Right. Because of a damn Christmas tree. We take life for a joke. We're going to piss years away because, life's about every 25th. Go get the Christmas tree erected. Yay, woo. Goddamn, gifts, kids. Where are the gifts? Kids, December 25th, Santa Claus is going to come down a chimney that doesn't exist. We don't have a chimney, right? We're in the projects. We're in Regent Park. There is no chimney in the projects. He's going to come down a chimney, and he's going to eat your milk and cookies. Oh, yeah? Hooray! That's why nothing gets better in our lives, because our life is a joke. And we're a slave to whatever lust satisfies us. All right? We're a slave to whatever lust satisfies us. New Year's resolution. Give me a damn break. Let's do a study on that. Let's do a study on how many New Year's resolutions will be kept in Canada. How many pounds will you actually lose? None. 0. You're not going to lose any weight. How much less meth are you going to smoke? You're going to smoke more in 2020. Because Canada is coming down with, I'm going to tell you something. Canada is coming down with more stress and more pressure than ever before, First Nation. And he's coming with more meth, too. More pills, too. More bills, too. You're going to smoke more meth in 2020. You're going to get higher in 2020. You're going to get fatter in 2020 because we didn't make a vow to the Lord. Read that scripture again.
It's the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 4 and verse 4. Chapter 5 and verse 4. When thou vowest a vow unto God.
When you make a vow to the Most High, when you actually want to do something. Because change, you can actually change. You don't have to be a whore your entire life in Toronto. You don't have to have 3 different men in one Friday night in Toronto's university systems. You don't have to, Black or West Indian woman. You don't have to, Latino woman. You don't have to go to that brothel, brother, in Montreal. I know it's legal. I know it's so pleasing. Thai massage, right? You don't have to go in there. You don't have to be with those other retards going around the line for some recreational marijuana in Montreal. You don't have to do that. When you make a vow to the Most High, read on.
Be firm not to pay, for he hath no pleasure in fools.
Defer not to pay. He hath no pleasure in fools. What is most of Canada? They're fools. They're going to make a vow. Oh, 2020, I'm going to lose 20 pounds. You're going to be 30 pounds heavier next year. First Nations. I'm going to, no meth, meth-free 2020. You're going to get higher in 2020. Because the slave masters come with more pipelines. They come in to kidnap more Native Indian daughters and women. They come with more stress and pressure. There's nothing you can do. You're not getting out of this. Okay, no New Year's resolution is going to make a difference. No Christmas tree is going to make a difference. No ball dropping and meth and weed and drugs and, getting up into the slave master school system. That's not going to change the condition of you, really, or your people at all. All right? Give me the hold this scripture. Give me he will make war with the saints. All right, you're at war right now. And making a resolution when a ball drops on CBC, on CBS, on NBC, it's not going to change it. You're at war, First Nations. Okay? Why do you think your daughters are getting kidnapped and they're not doing a damn thing about it? Let's pause for a second. Imagine if these were little French girls going missing in Montreal. They had a memorial the other day to 10 French women that were killed at a campus in Montreal in Quebec. They don't do that for the First Nations. All of Canada, there's a day in Canada where they remember 10 European women that got killed. They don't do that for the First Nations. Why? Because they at war with you. We're going to show you in the Bible that the meth, the missing and murdered Indigenous women, alcoholism, and stress Indian reform schools, all part of the plan of war. Okay? And we're going to show you how to fight it. Do you fight it with a New Year's resolution? Do you fight it with a Christmas tree? Oh, Christmas tree. You fight it with Santa Claus? Is Kris Kringle going to fight for you? Let's find out what it is. Read the scripture.
This is the book of Revelation, chapter 13 and verse 7.
Go ahead.
And it was given unto him to make war with the saints.
See that? It was given unto him to make war with the saints. The slave master has got power, and he is waging war. Not New Year's resolutions. He's not making a New Year's resolution to bring more meth. Notice that, First Nations, right? He's not saying, I hope more meth will get to the First Nations so we can stay on top. West Indian, he's not making a New Year's resolution. I hope we can bring more of the Jamaican pounds, the ganja, to Toronto. He's not hoping. He's not making a damn resolution. He's making it happen. He's getting the shipments. He's flowing it, pushing it across the border like fries in a buffet. Okay? So what you at war with this man? What are you going to do? Make a New Year's resolution? Oh, I hope and I pray. This is a serious damn matter, man. It was given unto him to make war with the saints. If you're born First Nations, you are a saint. The word saint is a racial term like First Nations. Okay? In the Canadian census, they should have a white, European, Arab, African, Asian, right? And then they should have saint. And then in parentheses, it should say First Nation, Latino, and Negro. West Indian, right? Haitian, or American Negro. And you should be able to check off saint, because that's what you are. Regardless of how you live or carry yourself, you're born as saint. Black man, Latino, Native American, Indian. But the Lord's saints are those that do what he says. He will make war with the saints, and he's making war. He's not making resolutions, First Nations. When the daughter's getting kidnapped, they're not getting kidnapped off of hope. They're not getting found dead because of hope. They're getting found dead because men put it into action to kill them, murder them, put it into action to sell them for sex slaves, to be raped dozens of times a day on boats on the Great Lakes. He's not hoping to do that. Here we are on the band. Oh, I hope I can get off meth. You're not going to get off meth. Meth is not something you just, I hope. You know how horrible meth addiction is? You know how absolutely how absolutely life crushing it is? You've got to be absolutely aggressive about it. And that's why the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, we are absolutely aggressive about how we teach, how we operate. We are aggressive. We are at war. Okay? The weapons of our warfare are not carnal. They're not, AR-15s and going into delis and doing all this other nonsense, going and killing people. That's not the weapons of our war. But we're at war, brother. We're going to show you how we fight back. But if you were born Black, Hispanic, or Native American Indian, you were born into a war that a New Year's resolution is not going to get you out of. Continue.
Come on. And to overcome them. And power was given him.
They're not making resolutions. They want to overcome you. They want to dominate the First Nations, man. And they are absolutely winning. You got First Nations believing that the Negro in Canada is African. Are you kidding me? 500 years, then this man says, oh, and those guys over there, the people we have in slavery, they're Africans. Don't talk to them. But yes, master. Yes, master. They'll go African. I won't talk to them. I'm native. Are you kidding me? We're going to believe the slave master who says those black people, West Indian, yeah, man, yeah, brethren. Those brethren over there, they came on boats they walked across Russia when it was freezing cold. Yes, massa. They come from Russia. Napoleon, they come from Russia. Are you kidding me? What did Julius Caesar say? Divide and conquer. That's how the Romans always made their empire. They divide you up. First Nations over here. You go kidnap your women over here. Negroes over here. Got Guantanamo South in Toronto. Go get locked up in Toronto and go down south. You'd be in a hellhole. They pressure you to admit you did a crime you didn't do. Overcrowding. They call it Guantanamo South. So you can imagine what's going on down there. And you know who's going there? West Indians and Latinos, largely. All right? He's putting us in Guantanamo South. Then he's got the Latinos. Stay away from everybody. You were from Spain. Yeah, you were from Spain, which is why we have you locked up in the goddamn middle of nowhere, Texas. He would do that to a Spaniard, right? Yeah, they hate Spaniards. You're from Spain. They get into this cage, Spaniard. You got to be kidding me. In 2020, the First Nation still thinks that the Negro brought over here on slave ships is African. The Latino still thinks he's from Spain. His compadres, his amigos and amigas are locked up like dogs. Okay? The Negro still thinking he's from Africa. There has not been one African boat up the St. Lawrence River. St. Lawrence River runs up to Montreal. You would think those Africans, keep rowing, Matumba. We have come to get our African brother. Blow the horn. There was not one boat up the St. Lawrence River to come get their African brothers. Yet we're African, we're at war. And it was given power to him, to the beast, to overcome us. Who is the beast? Canada is a beast. Go ask your father that was in the Indigenous Reform School. Canada is a beast. They can laugh at us. Oh, look at those guys, they're yelling. They can't laugh at Canada. They can't laugh at a pipeline going through their reservation. They can't laugh at police officers with snipers pointed at them. They had sniper rifles pointed at Indigenous people protesting, I don't want a pipeline through my backyard. And the police, the RCMP, had snipers pointed at them. You can't laugh that off. That you can't laugh off. That you can't ignore and walk into the mall and go shop. Okay? You're going to either hear the voice of the Lord or you're going to get trampled by the beast. And Canada is a beast. He's in full power, like King Kong. And anybody in his way is getting destroyed. Okay? With meth and child molestation and homosexuality and pounds of Jamaican weed. All right? Read on.
Khan. And power was given him over all kindreds.
Power. Not hope. No. I hope I win. Power was given unto him over all kindreds. He would make war with the saints, and power was given unto him over all kindreds. Go ahead.
Khan. And tongues.
And tongues. Go ahead.
And nations.
You see where we're going here, First Nations? This beast that we're under has conquered the known world. You're not going to defeat his drugs with a New Year's resolution. West Indian, you're not going to beat his push to get you to be in lust over his whores with a New Year's resolution. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. We're trying to show you. You want to know how to defeat meth? You have to kick it aggressively. It has to be kicked off you. It has to be kicked off. It has to be fought aggressively. It has to be fought, not resolved. Made a resolution. New Year's resolution has not helped one Native American Indian, one Negro, and not one Latino. The beast is at war with you. He's not making resolutions, right? You would think in 2020 they'd stop. There would be a stop in meth flowing in to Native Indian reservations, right? It's been over a century. They can't stop the flow of meth. Meth's flowing into the First Nations reserve, okay, like water into an ocean. Flowing like gold down the Pacific Northwest in the 1800s. You would think they would stop. Like, these people are the poorest people in Canada. These are some of the poorest people in the Western Hemisphere. Let's at least just take some of the drugs away, so they don't have to deal with no family members to raise them. They didn't stop. They didn't stop. Well, the people they're making war with are making hope and resolution, fighting each other, and doing all other manner of nonsense. We're at war. Give me 2 Corinthians 10:5. Let's see, what are we to do? Are we to make resolutions today? Are we to hope and pray and, pray in the sense of pray the Christian way? Because when you pray, you're supposed to act with your prayers. God, the Most High is not a magician, okay? If you want to learn a new language, you need to learn a new language. But go to the Most High and ask Him. That'll give you the strength and the ability to do it. The mind, the brain power, whatever to do it. Wisdom to do it. To go about it the quickest or most efficient way. Whatever you want. The one you call Christ said this, whatsoever you ask of me, we'll get that too. You can there's a resolution to make. Okay? That resolution 2020 it's repentance for the Black, Latino, and First Nations. All right? Christ said, whatsoever ye ask the Father in my name is going to be granted to you. That resolution will stick. The resolution isn't sticking because we're not asking what the one you call Christ wants or Yahweh Shai wants. Okay? Read.
Come on. Here's the book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 10 and verse 5. Casting down imaginations.
Casting down, get up, the weapons of our warfare are not carnal. I think it's verse 4, right? You don't see the weapons of our warfare are not carnal?
Inside this.
Hold on one second.
Verse 4. Sir.
Yeah, read verse 4, please.
Come.
Go ahead.
This is the book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 10 and verse 4. For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal.
Weapons of our warfare are not carnal. Weapons of his warfare are carnal. And he's carnally beating the snot out of you. Carnally. With meth and brothels, whores, drugs. His holidays are beating the dirt out of us. With his holidays. You would think, and in Canada, you would think, because it's a free, you can do what you want, you would think that people would celebrate freely. When there is no freedom of belief or freedom of religion in Canada, you must do what the slave master does. Right? Your friends are pressuring you into it. You don't have a Christmas tree, you're weird. You're in a crazy cult. Why? I thought Canada was a free society. Aren't I free to hate Christmas and to hate Janus? I'm not free, because in Canada it's not a free society. You're not free to choose what God you serve. You're pressured into serving the gods of the Roman Catholic Church. Janus is the god of the Indian Reform schools, not the God of the First Nations. The God of the First Nations would have us war. This is how he would have us war. Read on.
Come. But mighty through God.
Not carnal, but mighty through God, through the Most High. Read on.
To the pulling down of strongholds.
Pulling down the strongholds. The war we've waged is what we're doing. Pulling down strongholds. You go to Canada and pluck Canadian Thanksgiving out the sky. Now, there's no excuse now to not know what Thanksgiving is about. Go to Canada and pluck Christianity and the lie of the Immaculate Conception out of the sky. And pluck the myth that you can eat pork out of the sky. Casting down strongholds. Boom. Pulling them down. Go ahead.
Come. Verse 5. Casting down imagination.
Imaginations. The Negro saying he African. The First Nations saying the Negro is African. And the First Nations come from some imaginary ice bridge. The Latino saying he's everything. Spaniard, you had some ignorant Latino tell me years ago, I'm all three. I was in New York City. I'm all three. I'm Colombian. I'm all three. Well, let's see what ICE thinks. if your visa ship expires, and that was all she had. She had enough of that. All right. We'll see. Let's see what ICE thinks at the U.S.-Mexico border. All right. Read on.
Come. And every high thing that exalted itself against the knowledge of the Most High.
And every high thing that exalted itself against the knowledge of the Most High. January 1st is against the knowledge of the Most High. Let's prove that. Drop that. Get me, what I want. I want Exodus, the 12th chapter. The new year is in the Bible. All right? Exodus 12 and 2.
It's the book of Exodus, chapter 12 and verse 2. This month shall be unto you the beginning of month.
This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. Read on.
It shall be the first month of the year to you.
This is the first month of the year. January is the first month of the year to our oppressors. This month right here we're about to read about, this month is the first month of the year according to God, the Most High. Finish the verse.
Verse 3.
Drop to verse 11.
Verse 11. And thus shall ye eat it, with your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand. And ye shall eat it in haste. It is the Lord's Passover.
It is what?
The Lord's Passover.
What happens in the beginning of the year?
The Lord's Passover.
What happens in the first month of the year?
The Lord's Passover.
I didn't read about a ball drop on CBS or ABC, wherever it happens. I didn't read about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time for an orgy. I didn't read that. I read what the scripture said. The Lord's Passover is what goes on in the first month of the year. The beginning of the year, the first month of the year, the new year is marked by the Passover. The month of the Passover is the month of the new year. When is the Passover? From about March to April. In that time period is the new year. And it makes so much sense, right? During the spring equinox, you have the new blooms, right? You see that the deer, right? When you're driving, you see the deer frolicking around, and you see his or her young ones running, stumbling around. When? In January 1st? No. Bears are hibernating. Grizzly bears in Canada, they're in their cave trying to keep warm. Okay? They put on a nice few hundred pounds or so to last through the winter. There's nothing new about that. He's in his cove asleep, in some ditch somewhere asleep. But in March, April, he comes out, shakes his fur off, and he goes and run, frolics. You see the little cubs following a mother, right? Little cubs in March to April, right? Many of the rivers in Canada melt during when? March to April, right? And the river is flowing freely again during March to April, during the springtime. That's the new year. Okay, that is the new year. January 1st is not the new year. But let's get the next part of the next facet of January 1st being the new year, the next facet of that lie. All right, bear with me 1 second. I'm starting from this paragraph right here, all right? The January Kalends. All right, so I'm going to read on in this paragraph. The January Kalends, or Latin Calende Ianuare, came to be celebrated as the new year at some point after it became the day for the inaugurating new consuls in 153 BC. All right? 153 BC, January 1st, 153 BC, the new year was celebrated due to the fact of them inaugurating 2 new Roman consuls. Roman consuls were the leaders in Rome, the leaders of the Senate at Rome. They had a 1-year term. The President of the United States has a 4-year term. The President of Canada, the Prime Minister of Canada, rather, the President of Canada, excuse me. Let me look that up and make sure I'm not saying something that's wrong. The Prime Minister of Canada has a several-year term. The President of the United States has a several-year term. The Roman consul had a 1-year term, and he was celebrated. His inauguration was on January 1st. Okay, January 1st, 153 BC was the start of the celebratory process of the New Year's, but it's something that's been around for a very, very long time. January 1st is a celebration of the Roman god Janus, and on that day they would inaugurate or bring in 2 new Roman consuls, or leaders of Senate or their Congress or what have you. That's what it's about. It's got nothing to do with the Most High, nothing to do with nothing to do with anything that would help the blacks, Latinos, and the First Nations. Not at all. All right? But that's what it marks. Give me Daniel 7:25. Questions online, type them in. Questions online, type them in.
It's the book of Daniel, chapter 7 and verse 25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High.
He shall speak great words against the Most High. Who is this talking about? The Roman Empire. Okay? You can read about this beast, the 4th beast, who Daniel didn't see, but Ezra did see. The 4th beast is in 2nd Esdras, I believe it's the 12th chapter. All right, 2nd Esdras, the 12th chapter. This fourth beast is the eagle. What was the sign of the United States? The eagle. What was the sign of the Nazis? The eagle. The sign of the Roman Empire? The eagle. The sign of the French, the British? The eagle. All right, and that's this fourth beast. He would speak great words against the Most High. He would say, homosexuality is an alternative lifestyle. It's okay to be gay. And the Lord said it's an abomination. All nations come together while the first nations are destroyed. January 1st is the new year. And the Lord said January 1st is marked, the new year is marked by the Passover, and the Passover does not occur in January. It occurs in or around the period of March to April. Read on.
And shall wear up the saints of the Most High.
See that, First Nations? He's worn us out, wrung us like a rag. Literally, wrung the children of Israel, the First Nations, like a rag. Wrung the West Indian like a rag. Wrung the Negro like a rag. Wore us out. Wore the First Nations out. Read on.
Come. And think to change times and laws.
Do what?
Think to change time and laws.
You would think to change times and laws. Now, January 1st is a new year. He changes the times.
Right.
Now, pork is the other white meat. He changes the law.
Right.
Right? Now, homosexuality is an alternative lifestyle. He changes the law. All right? He would think to change times and laws. Keep reading.
Come. And they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time.
This be given into his hand till a time and times or dividing of times. All right? Sister that asked, yeah, it is like the Ouroboros. The circle in their heathen philosophies does mean a wholeness or infinity. Right? The wreath is around the door during the time of their new year because it's symbolizing the entire year, wholeness, the whole year. All right, but it's in worship of the Greek god Janus. He would seek to change times and laws. Now, the day starts 12 midnight. 12 midnight in the dead of night. If you shut the lights off, you couldn't see your hand in front of your face. He says that that's the new day. It's the next day now. Well, that's a lie. According to the Lord, the day started and ends when the sun sets. When the sun sets, that's when the next day occurs. All right? He would seek to change times and laws. Bear with me 1 second.
I'll see.
You have questions, type them in. Questions, type them in. All right?
Religion.
Read that again.
Come. This is the book of Daniel, chapter 7 and verse 25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time.
He'll be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time. Meaning, he would be allowed to do this for a period of time. That's all that means. All right? That's all that means. Drop that. Get me Jeremiah 2 and 28.
It's the book of Jeremiah.
Matter of fact, hold that. Give me Jeremiah 10 and 2.
Come.
Jeremiah 10 and 1. So
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 10 and verse 1.
go ahead.
Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel.
Hear the word which the Lord, the Most High, speaks unto you, house of Israel. The Lord isn't talking to everyone. The Most High is not talking to the slave masters, to the Arabs, the Dutch, the Chinese, Africans. He's speaking to the children of Israel. God talks to the First Nations. Most High talks to the Negroes. He talks to the so-called Hispanics. We don't.
Come on, come. Thus saith the Most High, learn not the way of the heathen.
Don't learn the way of the heathen. Don't learn the way of the heathen. We showed you up and down through the scriptures and through history that January 1st is in worship of the god Janus, and they would celebrate the inauguration of 2 Roman consuls on that day. Biblically, the New Year's is during the springtime. Read on.
Come on, come. And be not dismayed at the signs of heaven.
Don't be dismayed at the signs of heaven. When you do fact-checking on many of these so-called holidays, you'll find that they all go back in worship of the sun god. Christmas is in worship of the sun god. Nimrod is worshipped on Christmas, okay? He's personified in that Christmas tree, all right? He is deified with that evergreen tree, all right? Read on.
Come on, come. For the heathen are dismayed at them.
The heathen are dismayed at them. Chinese, Japanese, Arabs, they're dismayed at them. Drop that. Give me Jeremiah 2 and 28.
Come on, come. It's the book of Jeremiah, chapter 2 and verse 28. But where are thy gods?
Where are thy gods? Where is New Year's? Has New Year's helped us? Did Christmas, did it help Desiree McIver not get racially profiled in Winnipeg? Does it help the First Nations? We're watching the ball drop. Will it help the First Nations, natives? Where are our gods? Go ahead.
Come. But where are thy gods that thou hast made thee? Let them arise. And if they can save thee in the time of thy trouble, for according to the number of the cities of thy gods, O Judah.
According to the number of cities are our gods. Judah, meaning the Negroes, and talking about the children of Israel as a whole. All right? According to the number of years are our gods. The number of cities are our gods. Okay? Will the ball drop, will it help us? No. Has it ever helped get a First Nation off of drugs? The New Year's resolution helped anyone? No. Not of the First Nations, not of the Negroes, not of the Latino. Finish the verse.
Come.
Go to Judges 10 and 14.
Come.
Book of Judges 10 and 14, all right? Well, brother gets that. Any questions online? Type in your questions. Type in your questions now, all right?
This is the book of Judges, chapter 10 and verse 14. Go and cry unto the gods which ye have chosen.
Go and inquire unto the gods which ye have chosen. First Nations have chosen the Christmas tree. Go inquire unto it. Go ask Kris Kringle if he can go and find the missing and murdered indigenous women. Go and ask Santa Claus if he can tell the clerk, the manager of Michael's in Winnipeg to stop racially profiling First Nations. Go and ask him. Go and ask Kris Kringle if you can get your son out of Guantanamo South, your cousin, uncle, father out of Guantanamo South, out of the Canadian prison system. Go inquire of the gods which ye have chosen. Go ahead.
Come. Let them deliver you in the time of your tribulation.
Let them deliver you in the time of your tribulation. The Lord is making a rhetorical question. The Lord, the Most High, disrespects these false gods. And I should be we disrespect false gods. We disrespect Kris Kringle.
Right.
A fat slave master with red and white and a red sleeping cap on. Okay? We disrespect New Year's. New Year's is not on January 1st. According to God, according to the Most High. But you're free to celebrate whatever God you want. This is Canada, right? Canada is a free country. We're not forcing you to do anything. But the God of the Bible, the one true living God, he's asking his people to go call your gods. that you're freely allowed to serve in Canada. Let them deliver you from the RCMP with guns pointed at First Nations protesters. Let them deliver you. They're not going to deliver us. They never have. Drop that. Give me the Wisdom of Solomon, the 14th chapter.
The Wisdom of Solomon, 14th chapter, verse 1. Again, one preparing himself to sail and about to pass through the raging waves, calleth upon a piece of wood, more rotten than the vessel that carried it.
Right. So originally, origin of New Year's. Originally, the New Year's ball, it had a practical purpose. I'm trying to look it up. Yeah, this is a good article. Bear with me one second. I'm going to share more history with you online. All right. To the Time Magazine article, 2016. It says the surprising origin of the New Year's Eve ball drop tradition. All right. All right, we're going to show you the origin of it. All right. Yes, you can see it there. Okay. The first time balls were built in England in the Portsmouth Harbor in 1829 and at the Royal Observatory in Greenwich in 1833, according to Alexis McCrossan, author of Making Modern Times, A History of Clocks, Watches, and Other Timekeepers in American Life, and professor of history at Southern Methodist University. These devices were large enough and high enough to be seen from the harbor or port, and they were designed to help ship captains keep accurate time. So the origin of the New Year's ball drop was a device that was used to help ship captains keep accurate time. It was a device that had a practical use. All right? Read on. Wisdom of Solomon 14 and 2.
Come on. For verily, desire of gain devised that, and the workman built it by his skill.
So but the workman built it by his skill. That's what he did. He built it by his skill. All right? Desire of gain devised that. They wanted to have a gain, have an advantage. The advantage of this ball being so high up was that ship captains could keep accurate time. All right? For Britain, the maritime power of the day, the question of the time was an important one. At sea, without landmarks to determine longitude and without a stable surface on which to rest the pendulum, it can be hard to tell time precisely. Ship captains would look at a time ball to set their chronometers, or their watches, a type of clock without a pendulum for seafarers, which had been invented by carpenter and clockmaker John Harrison. Okay, so these balls were important. They had a practical use to them. But like all things, the heathen go and take it and worship it. All right? Read verse 7.
Come. For blessed is the wood whereby righteousness cometh.
Blessed is the wood whereby righteousness cometh. Blessed is the thing that is developed or built for a right purpose, for a useful purpose. This thing had a useful purpose, but it was then taken and worshipped as a god. That ball dropping is in worship of the god Janus, the god of January. Okay? You're not a seafaring captain in the middle of Times Square in New York City or watching it from your home in Canada. All right? Blessed is the wood whereby righteousness cometh. Righteousness doesn't come by that ball. All right? It was used for sea captains to tell time, not for people to get high and celebrate a fake New Year. We don't.
Come on. Verse 8. But that which is made with hands is cursed.
Read verse 9.
Come. Verse 9. For the ungodly and his ungodliness are both alike hateful unto the Most High.
The ungodly and his ungodliness are both alike hateful unto God, hateful unto the Most High. God hates January 1st. January 1st has nothing to do with him. Hold that. Give me Amos 5 and 21. You know what I want. Amos chapter 5 and 21. The Most High hates January 1st, and those who celebrate it are committing an act of great hatred against the Most High. If you don't believe us, check out the shootings that will happen in the United States on those days, the murders that will happen, the domestic violence incidents that will happen in Calgary, on the Band, in Winnipeg, in Toronto, and in Montreal, in Ottawa, in Vancouver, Halifax, wherever the blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians are. Why? Because the Lord hates this day. This day is January 1st is a day of great hatred against the Most High. Read on.
Come on. Verse 10. For that which is made shall be punished together with him that made it.
That which is made shall be punished with him that made it. You got to read Amos 5 and 21, all right?
Come on, sir.
Go ahead.
This is the book of Amos, chapter 5, and verse 21. I despise your feast days.
I what?
I despise your feast days.
I despise your feast days. The Most High despises our feast days. What are our feast days? Christmas. What are our feast days? Boxing Day, Easter, right? New Year's Day. New Year's is not in the Bible. Celebrating the New Year is not in the Bible. The Passover would occur in the New Year. Okay? Most High hates and despises our feast days. Go ahead.
Come on. And I will not smell in your solemn assemblies.
He won't smell in our solemn assemblies. He doesn't hear, God, please help this, bless this meal, when we're evil and disgusting celebrating the holidays of the heathen. He doesn't smell in our solemn assemblies. The Most High does not smell in our solemn assemblies. The Most High is not with New Year's. Go ahead.
Come. Though ye offer me burnt offerings and your meat offerings.
My Christmas meal, New Year's meal, go ahead.
I will not accept them.
He doesn't accept it. He doesn't accept a Christmas meal, which is why you're going to go back to Michael's and get racially profiled. All right? Which is why you're going to go back to the Band. It's going to be drug addicts, whores, murderers, and thieves all on the reservation. Because the Lord doesn't accept our solemn assemblies while we're being evil against him. Is that it on that verse? Finish the verse.
Neither will I regard the peace offerings of your fat beasts.
Neither will I regard the peace offerings of your fat beasts. Go ahead. Go back to Word of Wisdom of Solomon 14 and 12. All right.
It's the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14 and verse 12. For the devising of idols was the beginning of spiritual fornication.
Devising of idols? This is the beginning of spiritual fornication. It's the beginning of going off to serve other gods. We don't.
Come. And the invention of them, the corruption of life.
The invention of them, the corruption of life. You want to know what's wrong with life? Idols, idol worship, serving other gods. It's why child molestation happens. It's why murder happens, theft happens. It's why families break up, right? Our mother and father, they didn't think it was okay to be together. They weren't happy with each other. So what does the God of Christianity tell them? If you're not happy, leave. Split up. But according to the Most High, the God of the Bible, sex is marriage, and marriage is permanent. Christ said this in Matthew chapter 19 and verse 9, except it be for fornication, if a man leave a wife and marry another, I mean, if he puts one woman away to go and marry another, if he divorces one to marry another, he hath committed adultery. Okay? The only reason you can leave your woman, First Nations man, Negro, Latino, is if she had sex with another man. Other than that, you got to stay with her. If she's getting high as a kite in the kitchen, you got to stay with that woman. Okay? Now, obviously, you're not going to live in the same house with her, but you can't go and put her away and leave her. You got to help her. You had sex with her, so you're going to have to help her through her problems, through her weaknesses. The sister, you're going to have to do the same thing. All right? I'll always be wise, and I would recommend you to call us, get counsel from priests of the Most High, but you can't leave her or her. All right? We don't.
For neither were they from the beginning, neither shall they be forever.
It's the corruption of life. This New Year's is a corruption of life. And you're going to see a lot of corrupt and crooked acts amongst the blacks, Hispanics, and Native American Indians in Canada on New Year's. You're going to see a lot of deaths, a lot of domestic violence incidents, a lot of people getting high and committing great evil against the Most High. Read on.
For by the vain glory of men they entered into the world.
Vain glory of men. Worthless. Some man wanted to be, he wanted to get a promotion. So he built the New Year's ball in Times Square. Somebody wants to get a promotion. Some architect somewhere in New York City, he wants to get a pay raise. So he goes and erects the ball of Janus. Okay? Around this time. They're setting it up now, I believe. Go ahead.
And therefore shall they come shortly to an end.
Right. Therefore shall they come shortly to an end. Skip down to verse 16.
Verse 16. Thus, in process of time, an ungodly custom grown strong was kept as a law.
It's an ungodly custom that has nothing to do with the Most High, but it's grown strong in Canada. And now, New Year's Day on January 1st is celebrated, kept as a law. Government buildings in Canada closed. Many people have off from their slavery, from their job on January 1st. It's become a law. This is an ungodly custom, a heathen custom that's grown strong. And now it's kept as a law. It's like a federal holiday now in Canada. Read on.
Engraven images were worshipped by the commandments of kings.
Worshipped by the commandments of kings. Prime Minister gives you a day off. Right? Queen of England gives you a day off. The labor union gives you a day off. By the commandments of kings, we go and have off to go and worship these things. Who's another king? The Pope. The Pope's a ruler. He talks about Christmas and birth of Jesus and all this other nonsense. When Christ was born, Yahushua was born during the springtime. All right? January 1st is not the new year according to the Bible. Skip down to verse 21.
Verse 21.
Verse 22.
22.
In fact, let's go down to verse 24. So
This is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 5, verse 24. They kept neither lives nor marriages any longer undefiled.
They kept neither lives nor marriages any more undefiled. The origin of men going and sleeping with other men's women comes from idolatry, comes from worshiping, celebrating other gods. That's the root of it. You get my point? By and large, that's the root of it. Go ahead.
But either one slew another treacherously.
Murder, which is going on all across Winnipeg, right? Go ask what many of them celebrate. They're not in ISUPK. They're not in these classes. They have a Christmas tree in their house, and they're going to turn on ABC and watch a ball drop from the sky like children. Go ahead.
Or grieve him by adultery.
Grieving a man by adultery. It grieves a man to go and have sex with his woman. First Nations. It grieves a man to go and have sex with his woman. Negro, Latino. Read on.
Verse 25. So that there reigned in all men without exception blood.
There reigned in all men without exception blood. Why is violence so common in First Nations? Because we serve other gods. We are idolatrous. Worshiping totem poles, animals, and the slave masters' gods. Read on.
Manslaughter, theft,
Manslaughter, killing someone, theft, stealing. Go ahead.
and dissimulation.
Dissimulation, splits, breakups, lack of brotherhood. Go ahead.
Corruption.
Corruption amongst the First Nations. Corruption amongst the Negro. Corruption amongst Latino in Canada. We full-hearted into crime in Canada because we are Christians. Read on.
Unfaithfulness.
Unfaithfulness. A lack of work, a lack of belief in Canada.
Right.
A lack of belief in anything amongst the Negro, Latino, Native American Indian. Just going to work, living life, going to work, and that's your life. And that is not life. That is nothing. This is where you can make a robot. They're making robots do that. You get my point? You going to work, getting a paycheck, and doing nothing else. Going on Facebook and you know, going and eating, going home. They make robots to do those things. Robots can do that. That's not life. All right? We're not living in Canada. In the ISUPK, we bring life into the blacks, Hispanics, Native American Indians because the Lord Most High, all right, through these scriptures gives life into a man. That's what we teach. Read on.
Tumults.
Tumults. Beefs. Isn't that what's going on in Toronto? Jane and Finch beefing with Regent Park, right? Jane and Finch beefing with Eglinton. West End versus East End. Indian posse versus this Native American gang in Winnipeg. Read on.
Perjury.
Perjury, lying, being a damn snitch. Okay? Which is not the spirit of Christ. If you're doing something wrong and you get locked up, go the hell to jail. Okay? We don't teach to do anything wrong in here. Okay? But if somebody comes and questions you about something, then you say all that there is to say to the police officer that's lawful. But to divulge and give everything, you understand what I'm saying? Perjury in this context would be lying. What I mean by snitching is you getting caught doing something wrong. I'll say brothers in the world. He's getting caught doing something wrong, and he is telling to the police stuff about his buddy that's not even true. Don't do that. And we surely don't do that in here. You understand? When you get questioned, you tell the police everything that is true and lawful. When you get stopped and a cop writes you a ticket, take the ticket.
Right.
Not if you're Christian. Oh, officer, please let me go, please. Begging to a cop. Why? Perjury. Okay? Lying under oath. Okay? Read on.
Verse 26. Disquieting of good men.
Disquieting of good men. You can't be on the First Nations Reserve and not get high. What are you, nuts? They're going to pressure you into it. Peer pressure in Canada amongst the Israelites is almost always geared to sin. Disquieting of good men. You don't get high. What? You haven't had sex with a prostitute. What? Acting like syphilis is the best thing since sliced bread. Give me a break. Not according to Christianity. According to Christianity, you must be like them. You must be like everyone else. Disquieting of good men. Read on.
Forgetfulness of good terms.
Forgetfulness of good terms. We go into all kinds of religions and beliefs. We forget good terms. Go ahead.
Defiling of souls.
Defiling of souls. Homosexuality. Child molestation. That's a defilement of souls.
Right.
Catholic Church. Christian Church. They go and celebrate Santa Claus. They go and celebrate Kris Kringle. They are defiling souls with child molestation. Okay? That's from the worship of idols. So you know the Catholic churches are nothing but a house of idols. Read on.
Changing of kind.
Changing of kind. He is born a man, right? Now he wants to become a woman. Now Dwayne Wade's saying he's proud of his daughter.
Right.
Changing of kind. Transsexuals. Go ahead.
Disorder in marriages.
Disorder in marriages. A woman thinking she can run the house. Yelling and screaming at the top of her lungs. In things she ought not. The man sitting somewhere. Oh, I don't say nothing to her. Right? Disorder in marriages. Stuff taken blown way out of context. Not being handled correctly. Stuff going on in the marriages that's not being talked about, lack of communication, lack of intimacy, all of the above, as they would say. Go ahead.
Kamakan. Adultery.
Adultery, having sex with another man's woman. Read on.
And shameless uncleanness.
Shameless uncleanness. Shameless to be a whore in Canada. Shameless to be out with no clothes on at all. Shameless uncleanness. That woman that does that is a Christian woman. Okay? Christianity rules and dominates our lives, even if you don't go to church. There's a lot of people in Canada that don't go to church, but guess what's going to happen on January 1st? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh! New Year! When the Roman Catholic Church established that. And ancient Roman customs established that, and the Roman Catholic Church carried on Roman customs. That's what it is, and that's what it's always been about. Okay? The celebration of other gods. All right? These gods are nothing to the Most High. The Most High is the Most High. All right? He is the true and living power. And his program will fix Black, Hispanic, and Native American Indians' lives. The New Year's resolution will not. Any questions, type them in. Questions, type them in. All right? I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. If there are no questions, I'm going to cut the feed with ISUBK, start out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. We're under the leadership of Commanding General Yohana. All right? We're the home of the truth. Like, share, and subscribe. ISUBK Canada. All right? Like, share, and subscribe to ISUBK Canada. I'm going to check the feed twice, and then I'm going to cut it off. All right? Questions, type them in. I'm going to take that to mean there are no more questions. With that being said, shalom.